you're fighting for your marriage, but your wife is cold, distant, or maybe she has already walked out the door. You desperately want to win her back. I know the pain you're carrying, the anger, the rejection, the feeling of complete powerlessness. Here is the most painful truth you have to accept right now. Everything you've been doing to try and win her back is actually pushing her further away. I know that sounds contradictory, but chasing her with desperate calls, sending long, emotional texts, arguing or trying to convince her to remember the good times, that behavior is the sound of desperation. It only confirms her decision to leave. Or if you bring out the Bible and try to show to her that God hates divorce, you are only making it worse. Before we talk about your mistakes, let's talk about her motivation. When a woman starts to pull away, ask for space, or even talk about divorce, the root reason is always the same. She no longer feels emotionally safe, and she believes she will be better off, safer, calmer, happier, alone. Yes, she's not doing it to hurt you. She's doing it to protect herself from what she perceives as a broken, unsafe environment. The problem is the narrative. Every wife has an internal story about her husband. And right now, her narrative about you is broken. When she married you, the narrative was filled with hope, promise, and a great future. But over time, due to broken promises, forgotten commitments, or emotional neglect, the narrative became hopeless. Yes, she projects into the future, and what she says is a repeat of the pain. She doesn't know where this is going. Whenever she thinks about where you guys are going, she wonders if it's just going to be more and more pain, and so she's becoming hopeless. This narrative is a reality, whether or not you think it is fair, or whether or not it is true. This is what she believes, and that is what she sees. That's why she's saying, I don't want to do it anymore. That's why she's pulling away. Our goal is to not argue with her narrative, the story she has in her head, but to completely change that story. Yes. And we don't do that by telling her that, look, I'm a changed man. I've decided to do the right things. No, we show it. We do it by showing her through consistent, genuine, and non-demanding action. The mistake most men make is rooted in a natural desire to fix the problem by chasing, complaining, and trying to convince. We men are wired that way. Something is broken, we try to fix it. Something is not working properly, we try to tweak it. And so, when your wife begins to pull away, begins to say, I need space, you can sense that the marriage is broken. And then you jump into fix-it mode and you start doing all of the chasing, all of the complaining, and all of the trying to convince, especially because you know that you were able to get her the first time and you want to use the same tools to get her this time. It doesn't work because the first time you tried to chase her, she didn't have anything in her head about you. And so the more you pursued her, the more she felt loved. But now the story is different. So we're going to break down all these three different mistakes. Mistake number one, chasing and pressuring. When a woman pulls away, her deepest need is usually safe space and safety. She wants safety, right? She is emotionally overwhelmed and her defense mechanism kicks in. That's when she begins to pull away. I don't feel safe here. So she begins to figure ways to make sure that she doesn't get hurt again and again and again. And what do men do to stop that? We push harder. We try to convince, we send texts, buy flowers, you cook for her, you follow her into the next room to force a conversation when she says she needs 5 minutes, track her movement. I remember a guy that put a tracker in his wife's car, try to gauge her mood so you can adjust your own performance. Now, this doesn't work. Why? Because every desperate text, every uninvited presence, every time you push for a conversation or for a date, when she had asked for space, it is chasing, and chasing validates her need for defense and makes you appear desperate. She believes that you're only doing this for yourself because you want something from her. You're confirming to her that you do not respect her emotional boundaries, which is exactly why she's pulling away in the first place. So the more you try to get her by being in her space, trying to convince her, trying to show her how much you love her, the more she feels that you don't respect her space. You don't respect her feelings. You are disregarding what she wants. So what do? You stop. Mistake number two, complaining and playing the victim. You start making changes And that is great. Yes? You clean the garage, you stop drinking, you start praying, you start going to church, or you pray more, or you're more attentive to her. You think now of date nights. You finally feel like you've done enough to earn a favor. But then you begin to think, why don't you notice that I did the dishes? I did all these chores today. Why are you still cold? You begin to feel that and you say it and it doesn't work. Then she draws away because you're doing all these things and it doesn't seem to work. Why? Because you are asking her to give you credit for what you have done. You turn every good deed into a bargaining chip in your head. Maybe you don't say it to her, but because you're doing it in your head, she can feel it, right? It drains her emotional energy and makes her feel responsible for managing your happiness. If you suddenly begin to feel down and feel deflated because you've done all these things and she's not responding, then she can sense it that you are trying to get her to respond, which is too heavy. This emotional burden is too heavy for your spouse, for her to carry. So you need to make sure that she believes that you're doing this for your own integrity as a man of God that you are, not for her appreciation, not for her applause. Mistake number 3, convincing with logic. This is the one that we make the most because you assume that if I tell her all the things that she's going to lose as a result of what she's doing, she will change her mind. So you jump in and start talking to her about the children, about what God says in the word, about the finances, and try to remind her of all the good times that you've had. But it doesn't work. Why? Because she's not leaving you because she forgot your wedding day or she forgot how much the kids love you. She is living because she doesn't feel safe, seen, or respected in the emotional environment of the marriage. Love is not a logic problem, it's an emotional safety problem. You're trying to get her to think when you should be trying to get her to feel. She needs to feel the change, not to be told about the change. When you chase, complain, and convince, she doesn't see a changed man. She sees a desperate man, a needy man, and she's trying to escape that. So you need to work on these 3 things. Now you've seen the mistakes you must stop. But breaking the cycle is only the pre-step. The true turnaround begins with the inner work, taking responsibility for your integrity as a man of God, independent of her approval. That is step 1, and I lay out the entire roadmap in video 2. Click here to join me in the next session.